Welcome back to my channel and Art Tips, a new series where I take you on the kind of questions I've heard over and over again from students, fellow artists, and honestly, ones I've wrestled with myself. After, more than 2 decades now in the studio working professionally, I've noticed the same themes coming up, sort of these sticking points that can quietly hold artists back, whether you're just starting out or you've been at this for years. So the intention is for each week that I do produce these art tips, and they may not be concurrent every week, but the intention is that each episode starts with a simple question, something that seems almost obvious, but once you really dig into it, it's something that a lot of students struggle with. So today's question is a big one, I think, and it's why do great painters focus on masses and not lines? A picture can either be linear or it can be painterly. Well, technically, maybe it can be both, but let's classify them as one or the other. Oil paints, which I'm using for this demo today, practically begs you to think in bravura, in bold shapes and masses of color. Watercolor mediums like wash that I've used on this channel and I intend to use more extensively in the future, on the other hand, often tempts people towards outlines and line work. And if you come up through drawing, as most of us did as kids and later on in high school and university, you might find yourself struggling to shift gears, still tracing edges when you should be laying in planes instead. So in this first lesson, art hack lesson, I meant art tips, I want to unpack that shift, how to move away from thinking in lines and instead start painting in masses. To show you what I mean, I'm working on a portrait today. I'm using an old photograph of a model, nothing fancy, just a reference that I had tucked away for a while now. I've cropped it down for more impact because part of thinking in masses is about designing your shapes, not just copying what's in front of you. I should also mention, because I'm using straight oils here with maybe just a touch of Cobra painting medium, these are Cobra oils by the way, recording this video was a bit tricky. There's a whole lot of glare. I tried moving the camera around throughout this video, but I apologize for that. It's definitely harder than when you're using cold wax, which mats the oils down. But I think the intention isn't, of course, to do a step-by-step demo for these art tips, but more to address the underlying questions. So every painting firstly starts with an idea, then the design, and then of course the underpainting. So I've started the base underpainting with a 1-inch flat, I believe that was, which I was holding a bit away from the canvas. That distance helps me stay mindful of the whole picture. I can't reinforce that enough. And it's not just a single point that you're looking at the broad form. You saw me a second ago using a paper towel. I've talked about the benefits of doing that. When you're using a trusty paper towel that I call it, it's not about details. It can't be about details. You're forced to push and pull, and you're forced into focusing on bigger planes and shapes and masses that give each portrait, in my case, or landscape or whatever, volume, instead of getting lost in tracing lines and little minute details. Certainly not at this stage. Now, the stage that I'm at now, I apologize, the narration is maybe not exactly, I'm narrating after the fact here. You can see the finished work, by the way, on the left there. The stage that I'm at now is almost a final stage. I do mold her face more later on, but you can see that the lines and the strokes that I'm applying are very deliberate. I am using a long flat hawk hair brush here, working with 1 or 2 strokes at a time. You pick up paint from your palette, apply it, you step back, assess, apply again, step back, reassess. You're focusing on smaller planes within the larger masses that you already laid down. It's almost like weaving the picture together in a mosaic. You're building depth and cohesion while still respecting the structure that you lay down in the first layer. So each stroke has intention, each mark refines the form, but the big shapes and planes from the underpainting continue to guide every decision. I think the big takeaway for the beginning stage of a painting goes beyond technique, and it's about mindset. Your first strokes aren't meant to perfectly copy a drawing or rigidly follow outlines. They're meant to invoke emotion, energy, and the feeling of the subject. I know it's esoteric and philosophical, but that's essentially what you're aiming for. I often start with a light drawing to guide proportions, but that's just a skeleton of sorts, a faint whisper, I guess. The real magic begins in the reinforcement stage, when you start to build on those initial marks, as I am doing now, and by refining planes and, of course, the shapes. I think the one way that I've been able to sort of put that into practical advice for the students in previous years is to tell them to use tools, which are of course very important, that are a size or two larger than they're used to using. So especially in the beginning stage, which is so important, if you, for example, use a eighth of an inch brush to do an outline or a drawing initially, use a half inch or even go as high as an inch and try to do that exact same outline or drawing that you've done previously with a smaller tool. Of course, it'll be much more painterly, but over time you'll find that it changes not just your marks, but the way you see and think about the painting. Bigger tools push you to simplify. That's just how it goes. It makes you think in larger planes, and it makes you engage with the work as a whole rather than observing over tiny details. It kind of teaches patience and observation, because every stroke becomes a decision, a negotiation between what you want to express and the space on the canvas. You kind of begin to trust the language of paint itself, to feel how masses interact, and in a way appreciate that the painting evolves as you do as well through a certain process. It's kind of meditative. Each broad mark is a dialogue between your intentions, I guess the brush or the spatula or knife or whatever, and the surface. And I think gradually what seems impossible with a smaller brush, holding the whole tool at a distance and keeping the picture in your mind, of course, the initial idea, that becomes natural over time and almost instinctive. And that's kind of when painting stops being just a mechanical process and becomes an act of creating. Well, you can really see the glare in this angle. Again, I'm sorry for that, but I'm going to have to figure out a way to maybe find another angle. There's a direct light, a cool light above me, so it's kind of hard to video. But as you can see, this stage of the painting, which is kind of towards the end, this overall, by the way, was a 2-day process. Most of the work was done on day 1, and then of course the final refining was done on day 2. But this is the stage where a painting in a way comes alive. The brush strokes carry certain direct intention. As I said, I'm applying paint, I'm mindful of the whole. The drawing, of course, is quite vital here, but it's in many ways problem solving. That's all it is. You're trying to, problem solving with intention and trying to create something that's worthwhile and it looks good. But you kind of feel yourself weaving these forms together. It's very exciting, at least it is for me. I don't know if you my artist friends here feel the same way. It's in a way playful, I suppose, because you're not trapped in tracing lines. Here you can see me making broad marks with this 3-inch knife. Again, I'm keeping that same concept in mind, stay energetic, keep my strokes broad, and make the painting visually interesting for this bottom part, which I ended up just sort of leaving for imagination. So at this stage for her clothing, it's again all about that whole concept of reinforcing the big shapes, the planes, and the rhythm of the composition. In fact, if you're looking to dive deeper into this way of seeing and painting, I highly recommend checking out work of one Henry Henshey. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. He was quite active in the 20th century. His book, Art of Seeing and Painting, is quite something. So, I mean, he focuses on capturing color and light again as masses and not lines. So seeing the painting as a whole. Again, I highly recommend his work. I can maybe even link it down below. In fact, for all of my videos, I should have mentioned this sooner, with regards to the painting, the demo, and everything I discuss here, I will write down below for your reference. As I lay down the final marks on this piece and wrap up our inaugural Art Tips video, I want to invite you to share any questions or thoughts in the comments, especially anything that I may have overlooked. This series is meant to be beginner friendly, but some of the concept we've discussed might feel a little challenging at first, and I guess that's okay. Painting is a journey, and every question helps us grow as artists. What would a painting be without a bit of intrigue, an orange spot that balances the visual with the mystical? These subtle surprises are what keep the viewer engaged and invites them to look closer and feel something beyond the obvious. As I pan in closer, notice how the forms are defined from the initial broad marks that laid the foundation, like for example in her shirt where everything's left just like that, all the way to the details you see now on her face. Broad planes that shape the hair, for example, while carefully considered color values give structure and life to her face through the multitude of color values that I've discussed at length in my previous videos. My work sits somewhere between representational and expressive, and this layering process is the key to achieving that balance. The one key difference, as a side note, this particular painting, I'm not sure if you subscribers have noticed, was painted entirely with a brush, and I did not utilize my usual silicone brushes. Thank you so much for watching. Next week we'll tackle another important question: how to create harmony between abstract and representational elements in your own work. So make sure you turn on notifications and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you and happy painting.